The sound of glass scraping against my bedroom window woke me at 2:13 inches the morning. At first, I thought it was a branch brushing against the house. But then I saw a hand gripping the window frame from outside. When I pulled back the curtain, my heart nearly stopped. It was Margaret, my ex-mother-in-law, the woman who had once told me I was no longer part of her family. She was standing on the narrow porch roof in the freezing Michigan night, looking frightened and exhausted. And when I opened the window and helped her inside, the first thing she said was something I never expected to hear from her. She needed me to forgive her. If you believe kindness can heal wounds, forgiveness can rebuild broken relationships, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that sometimes the people who hurt us are also the ones carrying wounds we never understood. My name is Nathan, and 3 years earlier, I had been married to Margaret's daughter, Rebecca. We had spent 6 years together, and for most of that time, I believed Margaret was more than my mother-in-law. She was family. I helped her repair things around her house, drove her to doctor appointments when her car broke down, and spent countless Sundays sitting at her kitchen table while she told stories about Rebecca growing up. But when Rebecca and I divorced, everything changed. The separation had been painful, but it was peaceful. We both knew we had grown in different directions. Margaret, however, saw it differently. She blamed me for everything. She told me I had failed her daughter, that I had broken the family, and that she never wanted to see me again. I accepted her anger because I understood that she was hurting too. I moved into a small house outside Grand Rapids and tried to rebuild my life. I changed jobs, made new friends, and slowly learned how to enjoy quiet evenings without feeling guilty for the life I had lost. I hadn't spoken to Margaret in almost 2 years. Then, on that cold February night, she appeared at my window. After I brought her inside, she sat at the kitchen table with both hands wrapped around a cup of coffee. She was trembling, but not from the cold alone. Margaret looked older than I remembered. Her shoulders had become narrow, and the confidence she once carried seemed to have disappeared. She finally explained why she had come. A few months earlier, Rebecca had moved to another state for work. Margaret had been diagnosed with a serious heart condition and needed an important procedure. But she had refused to tell Rebecca because she didn't want her daughter to abandon her new life out of guilt. Then Margaret's closest friend, Eleanor, had passed away unexpectedly, leaving Margaret terrified of facing the future alone. But there was something else. Margaret had discovered a box of old letters while cleaning her attic. Inside were letters Rebecca had written during the final year of our marriage. Margaret had assumed I was the reason Rebecca had been unhappy, but the letters revealed something completely different. Rebecca had written that she was struggling with her own fears, that she had pushed me away, and that I had tried repeatedly to save a marriage she no longer knew how to continue. Margaret had realized that she had spent years blaming the wrong person. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and made her request. She wasn't asking me for money. She wasn't asking me to take care of her. She simply asked me to come with her to the hospital the next morning because she was afraid to walk through those doors alone. Her daughter was hundreds of miles away, and Margaret couldn't bring herself to tell her what was happening until she had found the courage to face it herself. I sat quietly for a long time. Every angry word she had ever spoken to me came rushing back. A part of me wanted to tell her that she had made her choice, and now had to live with it. But another part remembered the woman who had once packed leftovers for me before I drove home on Sunday nights. I realized forgiveness didn't mean pretending nothing had happened. It meant refusing to let old pain decide who I would become. The next morning, I drove Margaret to the hospital. I waited beside her through the paperwork, sat with her before the procedure, and held her hand when fear overwhelmed her. Afterward, while she rested, I called Rebecca. Margaret finally told her daughter the truth. There were tears, apologies, and a long silence. Rebecca came home 2 days later. Weeks passed, and something remarkable happened. Margaret recovered slowly, and our family began finding its way toward one another, not by pretending the past had never happened, but by finally speaking honestly about it. Rebecca and I remained divorced, and neither of us tried to rewrite that chapter of our lives. But we became friends again. Margaret stopped calling me her former son-in-law and started calling me Nathan again. Just Nathan, with the warmth she once had. One Sunday afternoon, months later, I found myself sitting at Margaret's kitchen table again. The same table, the same old coffee mugs, but everything felt different. She placed a plate of homemade cinnamon rolls in front of me and quietly thanked me for opening that window. I smiled and told her that sometimes God gives us strange opportunities to open doors we thought were permanently closed. She looked toward the window and said maybe some windows are meant to be opened from both sides. That sentence stayed with me, because forgiveness doesn't erase what happened. It simply gives tomorrow a chance to be different from yesterday. Sometimes, the person standing outside your life isn't asking you to forget the past. They're simply asking for one small chance to make peace with it. If this story touched something inside your heart, please support it with a like, share it with someone who believes in forgiveness, and subscribe for more stories about hope, family, and second chances. And before you go, I want you to leave a comment answering one question. Would you have opened that window? Your answer might remind someone else that compassion is still possible, even after a relationship has been broken. Because that night, I thought I was opening a window for my ex-mother-in-law. In the end, I realized I had opened it for myself too.